Hello, everyone. The presentation will be starting promptly at 5 p.m. Thank you for joining our Clinical Research Associate Career Progression online seminar. We will begin shortly. Please note this meeting will be recorded. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining our Clinical Research Associate Career Progression online seminar. My name is Beata Smolak, and I'm a recruitment specialist here at Parexel International, and I will be the moderator for this event. During this webinar, the Parexel hiring team, along with myself, will be presenting information and providing a brief overview of Parexel and details of the CRA position. The presentation will be then followed by a Q&A session, where please feel free to address any questions you might have. If you have any questions during the presentation, please be sure to record them in the chat box provided, and they will be answered during our Q&A session at the end of this presentation. I would like to introduce our first speaker, Groni Burley, who is a Director of Clinical Operations and the country head for UK and Ireland. She will be providing the company overview and departmental information.
Thank you, Beata. So welcome, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to speak to you today. So thank you very much for joining us and to learn a little bit more about Parexel and our CRA team in the UK. So as Beata said, my name is Gronia. I'm the country head for UK and Ireland and Director of Clinical Operations. I've been with Parexel now for over 20 years, also joining the company as a senior CRA, and I've had many roles in the company during my time, primarily in clinical operations. In my current role, I've been country head now for about 6 years. So again, you know, bringing a wealth of experience in terms of project management and line management roles. I started my career of university as a graduate from a science and chemistry background, and then moved into my first role within the pharma industry, working in a more scientific laboratory background, and then progressed from the pharma company into my first CRA role within a CRO. I've primarily worked mainly in the bigger phase 2 to 4 studies, and as mentioned, you know, in various remits, working in both projects and people management. In my current role, I also support many corporate initiatives, and I also support our commercial teams and also industry teams, acting sometimes as an advisor and consultant. And really, I've stayed with Parexel for this long because I work with great people. I've had great opportunities. I think it's a company where if you work hard and, you know, want to really do some interesting things, there are lots and lots of opportunities. And within that time, I've also managed to support my family, and I've also brought up my 2 daughters, who now one has graduated and one also at university. So it's really given me a great opportunity to develop myself, meet great people, work with great people, but also being able to manage my family as well, which has been really ideal for me. So next slide, Beata, please. So first of all, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background into Parexel, and then I'm going to drill a bit more into detail about our UK team. But you're probably aware we are now privately owned by EQT and Goldman Sachs, and you know, these companies have very, very strong experience, you know, working with the pharmaceutical companies and other CROs. So we're very well positioned in a good place where we have great investors really looking at progressing Parexel in terms of our technology and looking to improve the way we work, which is obviously so important for our CRAs on the ground in terms of really making their lives as efficient as possible. So we've got great investment opportunities and, you know, an awful lot of initiatives ongoing within the company. Next slide, Beata. So some of you may already know this, so apologies if I'm sort of giving you some information you're aware of, but just to make it clear that, you know, Parexel is a clinical research organization. So we are a company contracted by pharmaceutical, biological or medical device manufacturers to basically manage clinical research studies on their behalf. So Parexel actually manage a vast majority of studies, and you can see here we work through phase 1 right through to phase 4. So just very briefly, in case anyone's not so familiar, we do have our own phase 1 units, and we have our own unit at Northwick Park Hospital in London, and others located also in America and in Germany as well. We work with the units in terms of managing first in human studies. So these are primarily looking at maybe volunteer studies or maybe first in patients. And we're really looking at that stage at the pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics of a drug and how it's working and ensure it's at that initially safe. That is the primary objective. If the drug is actually deemed safe and we kind of pass that phase 1 criteria, the drug will then move into the phase 2. And these are really now in bigger studies looking at least sort of 200 patients plus. And we're looking really then more, yes, still at safety, but also the efficacy of the drug. And we might be then looking at more specific patients with that specific disease area, not just the healthy volunteers. If we see that that drug is deemed positive in terms of its safety and efficacy, it will then move into the pivotal phase 3 study. So this is where we're looking at much larger populations, at least 500 up to maybe 5,000. Also looking at wider populations in terms of different regions, different countries. So we also then have numerous types of phase 3 where we have maybe comparator studies. We might be looking at double-blind studies. So lots and lots of different types of strategies in order to basically prove the primary or secondary endpoints for that particular clinical trial. If, for example, the study is deemed successful, and obviously at phase 3 stage, we are collecting an awful lot of data in order to actually submit that to the regulatory authorities and gain marketing approval. But if we do reach that successful stage, the drug would then move into a phase 4. So our work doesn't stop just when we get a drug marketed. We do have responsibility to make sure that we're following up to ensure that that drug continues to be safe, and we're continuing to monitor as part of our normal patient care. Next slide, Beata. So this is just a real sort of shout out of some facts really about Parexel. We were rewarded in 2020 the #1 CRO for our full service provider activities, and we've been nominated each year, 2021 and this year as well. So we're very proud of that achievement. And then in the middle there, you can see that we have been involved in 99% of the 200 top selling biopharmaceuticals on the market today. So this is an absolute privilege that, I've been able to be involved with this, and my team and my CRAs, really worked on these very, very important clinical trials. We also have about 1,600 clinical projects ongoing that cover about 13 therapeutic areas and include about 110 indications, and I'll show you a graph on that in a moment. We also have significant presence in APAC for over 25 years now, and really our APAC business continues to grow, which is really positive. We also have about 3,000 of our staff worldwide that are trained and have a lot of experience in the oncology and hematology area, which again is of significance to us because this is one of our, primary sort of business areas. We're also working more and more now in our decentralized clinical trial arena. You're probably aware that clinical trials, the way we manage clinical trials is really evolving, and as a company we're having to really adapt to that in terms of our strategies, our technology, and really the way that we are working with our patients. We really put the patients at the forefront of everything that we do. So having patients inputting into our protocols, we have a number of patient advocacy groups. We have a whole patient advocacy team that works very collaboratively with our hospital sites. So gaining that patient buy-in is really important, and we're seeing more and more that patients are really benefiting from having those more easy to work with clinical trials, being able to be participating in a clinical trial from their home, avoiding travel to hospital sites, having, CRAs that are able to access data in a more remote way, using more sort of data-driven techniques, etc. So Parexel is really at the forefront of this decentralized kind of clinical trial arena as well. And then moving to the next slide. The next slide is just going to highlight really some of our kind of awards that we've won lately. So again, just giving you a flavor of some of the activities that Parexel is involved with. So I won't read all of these out. You can have a look on the screen, but some of them will include our Women in Leadership, which is a really strong focus in our company, and we do an awful lot to ensure that we have great opportunities for women leaders. We do a lot around the whole diversity and inclusion arena, including LGBT. We've also been awarded, as one of the top CROs for our site relationship, which we're very proud of, because again, our CRAs are at the forefront of working with our sites. So this is a really big shout out and well done for our CRA team as well. And then also, we've been voted many times one of the top companies in terms of our flexible working and looking after our team's well-being. So just some taster of the awards we've achieved so far. Next slide, Beata. And then just briefly, this just gives you a kind of snapshot of our footprint. And this is specifically just for clinical operations. So we have over 4,500 staff in clinical operations, and primarily they are CRAs. We do have other clinical staff, but the main population is CRAs. We have two main offices within the UK, but you can see, we have offices around 65 countries. And even within our UK team, actually, we have really nice multicultural team. We do a lot of international transfers. We have opportunity where CRAs can, move to different countries, which has also been a really nice opportunity for them as well. And then next slide. And then, as I said before, we have these 13 sort of our top therapeutic areas, and within that we have about 110 indications. And you can see, again, hematology and oncology is really one of our leaders in terms of the number of clinical trials that we're managing. And but really the variety is really extensive, and it means that our CRAs have really great opportunities to work in many different therapeutic areas and opportunities to learn. So again, we work with all the big pharma companies and big enterprise accounts, but we also work with many biotech companies and a lot of smaller studies in rare disease as well. So it doesn't matter what level of experience the CRAs are at. We usually have some nice variety of opportunities for them to work on. Next slide, please, Beata. And then just to briefly give you a little bit of insight into how it works at Parexel and where the CRA role sort of fits into our clinical trial delivery. You can see at the top left, we've got this role, clinical operations leader. So they are a global role, and they're the person that's responsible for the clinical deliverable of the clinical trial. And our CRAs will report into that clinical lead on a project level. And the clinical lead, again, is responsible for the oversight right from the beginning of the project through to close out. And then our CRAs, as you see on the right, will have a dedicated line manager. And the line manager is really responsible to make sure the CRA is resourced appropriately to the correct studies, that they're trained appropriately, and that we're developing our team. So line manager is really supporting and mentoring the CRAs. And then looking at the diagram, so first of all, obviously, once we get awarded a project, there's a lot of strategy going behind that project to really understand how we're going to run it, which sites we want to look at in which countries, how we're going to monitor the study. Do we need a decentralized approach? Do we need a data-driven approach? So lots and lots of discussions with our clients in order to make sure we've got the right strategy for the project. And then we would look at doing targeted feasibility to make sure we get the best sites in order to recruit patients as quickly as possible. Now, in order to get those best sites, we bring our CRAs on at that site selection phase, where we also call that our qualification phase. So the CRAs would be responsible to help us select the best sites, do those qualification visits, and then we have a role called the initiation CRA that would take up, once that site is selected, they would take on the task of getting that site up and running as quickly as possible so that we can initiate that site and get patients recruited. So again, the CRA would work closely with the initiation CRA, and the CRA would deliver the on-site initiation visit, training the site staff, making sure that everybody is fully clear about the roles and responsibilities and the regulatory requirements. The CRA would then be really monitoring that study right through until we've reached our database lock. And the role of the CRA, again, is really, they are a trusted advisor to our sites. They are the main point of communication. So we really make sure that our CRAs are trained appropriately to ensure they're having those really good conversations with sites, that they're acting as problem solvers, really working with our sites as a team, because the site is very much our Parexel team, and really making sure that we're delivering to first time quality. And then really, again, the CRA would be finishing that study right through to termination. And as I said earlier, the CRA will be supported by the clinical operations leader in terms of how they've got to monitor the project. They will follow the monitoring plan. There may be, different ways of which we're monitoring. We have a lot more remote monitoring opportunities as well. As I said, a lot more risk management. So again, the COL will be supporting the CRAs in terms of those day-to-day activities. Next slides, please, Beata. So just to give you a little bit of insight of what our UK team looks like, currently we've got about 55 CRAs, and we have the levels of CRA 1 to senior CRA, and also a senior CRA 2 level. We've got 4 dedicated CRA line managers, and between us all, we have over 34 years of Parexel experience and over 40 years of industry experience. So the team is very, very strong in terms of, our overall support to the CRAs. And I think all of the managers bringing something different, and we've all got different backgrounds, which I think is very complementary. As mentioned, we have a dedicated study startup team that works very closely with our CRAs. We also have a small team of clinical operations assistants that support us with some of the daily admin tasks. We also have this very new accelerated program for clinical education, experience and exposure, which is called our APEX CRA development program. And I'll say a little bit more about that in a moment, but this is our graduate program, and we start the graduates in our COA ClinOps assistant role whilst they do and cover an intensive training course. We also have 6 monthly career and salary progression reviews, which I think is really important for CRAs, because we are trying to develop and progress our CRAs, but we also want to make sure that we're doing that timely, but also with quality. So it's important that our CRAs are trained appropriately, because our sponsors and clients do expect certain level of experience. Sometimes they expect a certain number of years of monitoring experience. So it's important that we are looking at this at the right time, and sometimes not rushing people to get to the next level, but making sure that we're reviewing that properly every 6 months. Next slide, please, Beata. And then just to say a little bit more about our Apex graduate program. So again, there's 3 parts to this. So we have our sort of learning and education, and then the exposure and experience part. So as I say, we're looking for graduates that are coming straight from university with the degree, master's degree, PhD, or sometimes they may have done some small amount of work experience. And they would basically join the team and do their initial training with our Parexel Academy. So we basically have our own training school, which is really very, renowned a training team, and really, delivering with first time excellence. So our graduates really do get a thorough grounding in this course. And then if we go to the next slide, Beata, it just explains a little bit about the sort of timelines. So that although the program is a 24-week program, you can see we divide it into foundation, anchoring and deployment. So the foundation stage is very much the Parexel Academy kind of taught sort of lecture-like scenarios that are supported also by our line managers. We then move into the sort of anchoring stage, where we try to put some of that teaching into practice. So we get the graduates out on some observational type visits. And then finally, once they are promoted to the CRA1 role, after the 6 months period, we're then really assigning them on projects, assigning them to mentors and making sure that they're getting that ongoing support. During that time, they will be tested, they will take some small exams, there will be some, on the job, testing of sort of knowledge and understanding, and they will receive a certificate from the ACRP as well. So it really is an accredited training program, and so far we've been doing this for really just throughout 2022, but so far it's been extremely successful, and our graduates have really proved to be doing really well. So it's been a great initiative. And then next slide, Beata. And then just to tell you a little bit about our office in Uxbridge, which is where primarily our clinical operations team are based. We're still a little bit in that COVID situation where we do have a lot of our team working from home, but we offer a great flexible working program. So many of our CRAs are coming to the office for some days in the week. Some of our managers are coming to the office. I myself are coming to the office a couple of days a week. We just moved to this very nice location in May this year. So really brand new office. Is accommodating up to about 138 people. We're based on the ground floor and also the second floor. We've got some very lovely meeting rooms. It's a really bright, spacious place to work. So the team so far have really enjoyed coming back to the office, into this very bright and positive environment. We've also got a very nice clubhouse and restaurant and like coffee shops, so there's opportunities for the team to meet. We do some nice social engagements, so we have our social committee that get involved with different activities. We have lots of charity events. So it's a really nice place to be. Obviously, we do have a lot of our team that are decentralized and they're not living near the office, but since we've had COVID, we do hope to go back to bringing the team together, once or twice a year, so that they can meet their colleagues face to face, because this is also very, very important to us. And then next slide, Beata. And then just quickly, just to sum up, just very high level, some of our core values. So really, we want to combine the strengths of our team to deliver the highest quality of work. So we do really try and put the right people in the right place. We look at the team in terms of their strengths, look at what they enjoy, look at what they want to do, and we hope that that will also drive first-time quality. We want to also stimulate the team in terms of their development and their knowledge. So, you know, that's really from that graduate training program right through to our senior CRAs that want to develop into leaders. We hope we treat everybody with respect and we treat everybody individually, and we take care of well-being. And, you know, again, well-being is very important to us, and we want to make sure that our CRAs feel that they are trusted advisors to the sites, and, you know, we want to give them that role of really responsibility, that, you know, they are experts in their fields, they're experts in their role, and we do try to acknowledge that and give the CRAs confidence to really drive their studies, drive recruitment, and work with their sites in a very teamwork environment. And then next slide, Beata. So again, just to sum up briefly in terms of our training and support. So in addition to the Apex graduate program, all of our CRAs that join us go through quite a thorough induction program. We have a dedicated senior CRA onboarding mentor that actually sits in our Uxbridge office. She's coming there every day and meeting a lot of our team on a daily basis. So she's been so helpful with making sure our new starters are feeling welcome and that don't get too lost with everything and the technology and all those new things that you have to face when you join a company. We have a really robust clinical operations training curriculum. We have live CRA onboarding training. We cover obviously our local regulations training, and we do supply individual mentors. In terms of on-the-job training, we have, again, CRA annual certifications that are managed by our line managers. Our line managers will be going on some assessment visits. We have an extensive opportunity for therapeutic area training, also our project-specific training, and we also have advanced soft skills for CRAs as well. So once you've reached a point where you've got at least sort of 1, maybe 2 years experience as a CRA, we feel sometimes there might be benefits in terms of some soft skill development as well. And then in terms of personal development, everyone in the company has a biannual performance development conversation. We try to provide continuous feedback, not just wait for the biannual review, but we try to feedback continuously. Every employee has a mandated development goal. So this is really critical, that even if it's something small, it's important that we are all thinking of what we want to learn and what we want to do to improve or progress ourselves. We have many ongoing continuous education type workshops, lunch and learns. And then we also have the accolade program. So this is always particular interest to our CRAs. So this is our rapid clinical operations leader development program. And this is opened quarterly, and our line managers and myself have the opportunity to suggest CRAs that are ready for this program. They still have to go through interview, but then they are fast tracked into our clinical operations leader training, which again is a really, really excellent opportunity. And again, through all of this, our managers are really, supporting the team on a one-to-one level on a regular basis. Okay, so next slide, Beata. So I think with that, I've given, hopefully, here's just some nice pictures of our team and some of the activities that we've been doing in the office recently. And as I say, lots of things ongoing, and we've got really, really nice young international team, and everyone's very, very friendly. But with that, I'm going to hand over now to Julie Andre. Julie is one of our senior managers working with me and the other managers, also sometimes in the Uxbridge office. So Julie, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Grania. So my name is Julie. I have been with Parexel coming up to 10 years now. It will be 10 years in January. I transferred from the Sydney office, from the team in Australia, and I have been in the UK with the UK team for over 4 years now. I do a mix of days in the office and working from home, and I think that speaks to what Grania said about our flexibility. So I don't want to be working from home 5 days a week, so it's really nice to be able to come in for 2 days and work from home the remainder. In terms of experience, I have over 20 years clinical research experience now. Those years have gone really quickly, I would have to say. I started my research career in health research, first within a university setting, actually working on a study that was government funded, before moving into a hospital, actually to a gastroenterology unit. And I did research there and then managed clinical trials for the hospital. From there, moved into industry and gained experience both in pharma companies and CROs. And quite like Grania, actually, I've had a number of different roles at different levels and certainly managed local and global teams. 2 years ago now, developed the Resilience program, the Resilience at Parexel program, and do regular workshops globally for the company, do monthly lunch and learn sessions. And this now has grown into our Parexel Wellness program. So as Grania said, we have a real focus on wellness, really helping our teams to stay healthy and well whilst we're working hard. And we have lots of sessions that go on. So we have yoga sessions, we have cookery classes, we have all sorts of resources available, and we actually have a network of wellness ambassadors. So again, this is a lovely role. So for people globally who have a interest in health and wellness, and we have many yoga instructors, people with psychology backgrounds, we have people who specialize in relaxation and meditation. So we have a lot of really things going on with the wellness program. So if that's an area you're interested in, again, you have the opportunity to be involved in that, which is really good. Next slide, Beata, please. If you are thinking about joining Parexel, I think it's really useful for you to have a sense of who we are as a team and what our culture is like here for the team. We're a very connected team. We're a very supportive team. Teamwork is really important to us. And within our team, many of the team support each other. Quite a lot of the team co-monitor, help each other out. It's the kind of team where if you join us and you have a question or need support, you can actually reach out to any of your colleagues and they will be more than happy to help you. And I think really, certainly during the pandemic, we've worked really hard to remain connected. And I think certainly if you work from home, if you work remotely, you might have a fear that, you would just be another CRA or someone sitting at home doing your monitoring visits. But here we have worked hard to have people feeling connected and do feel part of a team. We have weekly informal catch-ups. So for my team, they are on a Friday, so a Friday lunchtime. We all come together, we're all on camera, we all take it in turns to lead the meetings, some work-related, many of them not work-related. And so we cover many different things. They can be food, travel, photography. Kane, who's on the call, is known for setting really good quizzes for us. So he challenges us to really do a bit of thinking on a Friday, and challenges, tests our general knowledge experience. So they're all really fun. So we do lots of things, and I think one of the really nice things from that is we get to know each other, you know, as people on a different level. So not just as colleagues, not just as team members, but we actually get to know each other, and I think that's really nice, and that really helps with our feeling of connectedness and being a team. So we have the resilience program, and really that is around helping us to build and maintain our resilience. So, you know, we have busy working lives, and I think, you know, helping us to maintain our resilience is important. The wellness initiatives that we have as part of our wellness program are quite varied, and again is around helping to support, you know, our physical, our mental, our emotional health. We do have a, you know, a really strong focus on, you know, patients coming first, and supporting our sites, building good working relationships with our clients and our customers, and very much, you know, our CRA team are very much trusted advisor to our sites and to project teams, and also to clients. Very much we are strong believers in effective and respectful communication. We are a very diverse team. We come from many different countries, and obviously, you know, having that respectful professional communication is very important to us. It is a very positive environment. We work hard to make sure, you know, that we have that positive environment, that it is a trusting environment. You know, we trust each other. We believe in professional courtesy, how we interact, how we work together. We do have a strong focus on quality. You know, we are very much a team who care about what we do and how we do it. We do have a, you know, a thoughtful approach. We have a creative approach. You know, we really do share ideas and look at how we work together. We have a great recognition program. You know, and we do very much say thank you to our colleagues. We recognise people, particularly, you know, when people are going above and beyond to do things. The recognition system is great, because you can earn points and you can spend the points in the Parexel shop. So that's really nice, and you can get anything from gift vouchers to actually buying experiences and buying things. So I think that's really nice, because, you know, the people that are recognized, you know, it is nice to be recognized, and you feel appreciated and valued. And, you know, really our focus is we want people who join our team to be happy with our team. You know, we want it to be somewhere that you want to be. And often, if you meet people or speak to people that work for Parexel, many people will say it's the people that makes a difference. It's our colleagues, you know, it's those people that we work with that make a big difference. And certainly that's been the case for me. Next slide. Thank you, Beata. So with that, I will hand over to Kane, who is a member of my team, and is very much a very valued team member. So thanks, Kane. Over to you.
Thank you, Julie. So, good afternoon, everyone. Just a quick bit about me. My name is Kane Bambrook, and I'm a remote-based senior CRA based in Lancashire, England. I joined Parexel in January 2019 as a CRA 2. As a remote-based CRA, my time is split between working from home and visiting sites. Typically, I will be on site perhaps twice a week, but this fluctuates, of course. And when on site, I conduct the standard tasks expected of a CRA, such as ICF reconciliation, SDR, SDV of the source data, pharmacy review, ISF review, and building working relations with the site staff. And when not on site, my day tends to involve monitoring the visit report writing, ETMF filing, site management in terms of responding to site emails, and requesting information from site. I also have study team meetings and non-study related meetings, and all of this whilst ensuring sufficient time to make a coffee from time to time. Before Parexel, going way back, I graduated initially with a degree in pharmacology and physiology, and then a master's in clinical microbiology before starting my career in the NHS. It was whilst working in the NHS I seen a post recruiting for a study coordinator on a large phase 4 study within the local area. After spending 2 years as a study coordinator and working alongside the CRAs within that study, I felt this was my next step. And on that, I was fortunate enough to receive a place on a CRA training scheme, leading to me becoming a CRA 1. And next slide, please. So I work with Parexel. Now, whilst I could go on, I will try to stick to 3 key areas. And firstly, recognition. Remote working comes with many benefits to suit my lifestyle. However, the one concern I had was the potential for lack of recognition, as I would not be seen in the office with colleagues, in effect, just the name. However, my initial concerns soon evaporated. Parexel hosted biannual UK CRA meetings at head office, which allowed CRAs to put names to faces and strengthen working relationships. We also have Bravo, a platform in which we can give and receive recognition for times we have gone above and beyond our day-to-day work. And this recognition is featured on the main page of our intranet. And lastly, for recognition was my promotion. So my line manager worked closely with me to better understand the areas I needed exposure to in terms of experience within therapeutic areas and phases of clinical trials, in addition to personal development to help me achieve my goal of progressing my career. I feel Parexel prioritises the development of the CRAs and recognises the hard work of their employees, regardless of being office-based or remote. And my second point is support. Joining a new company is always daunting, and again, being remote-based, it is reasonable to be apprehensive about the prospect of being just left to get on with it. However, upon joining Parexel, I was assigned a senior CRA with many years' experience within the company who understood the various systems and the processes utilised. My buddy accompanied me on visits, as well as being able to assist with any queries I had or to troubleshoot issues I encountered, so I never felt isolated. And in addition, Parexel hosts super users, highly specialised CRAs available 24/7 to assist with an issue you may encounter with the various systems that we often use day to day. If an issue cannot be resolved then and there, a super user will raise a ticket on your behalf in order to escalate and expedite resolution. And we have the Staying Connected. This was an initiative from Julie, as mentioned previously, in response to lockdown. Each Friday, as a team, we dial in and have some time to catch up and see how we are all doing as a team. And this has been hugely popular and continues to this day. As Julie mentioned, each week we're given the opportunity to host a presentation, and I tend to host an easy quiz, though I've been told it is anything but easy. My third point is Parexel is a company that cares. As you've seen in the previous slides, everything Parexel does is with heart, and with that, Parexel are always practicing what they preach. Whether that is with a Down and Us program in which Parexel allow for CRAs to take their family for a meal, which is reimbursable, or Wellness on Us, in which the employee can reimburse for a wellness treatment, such as a massage. Summer Fridays encourage staff to take the Friday afternoon off from work and make the most of the quote-unquote nice weather, depending on where you live. It's more often rainy than not, but it's still a nice gesture. And lastly, Parexel understand that At times, studies can get busy, requiring an increase in monitoring visits. With that, Parexel introduced an incentive program which rewards you financially for the extra efforts we go to. I could go on with various other topics listed on the previous slides, which further emphasize my belief that Parexel is a company that cares. Thank you. So I believe next slide.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to move to the next slide.
I can go on. I'm sure you don't want to hear no more.
So it's back to me now, I guess.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Kane. Okay, so now I would like to tell you more about what Parexel can offer and what skills are needed to be successful at Parexel. So in addition to all the reasons that have been already shown during the presentation so far, I would like to summarize the flexible benefit scheme that Parexel is proud to offer. To start with, we offer flexible working policy where we offer 3 different models. So you can either work as fully decentralized or fully office-based, or you can have a hybrid model where you would split your week between office and home working. We offer 25 days of holidays in addition to public holidays, a private medical and life insurance. And what is great about that is that employees get to choose how they would like to spend the funds received from the company. We offer a competitive pension plan. Other benefits also will include what Julie has already mentioned. You can buy additional holidays, Parexel discount and offers, and also cycle to work scheme. Specifically for CRAs, we offer an incentive plan, and this plan allows you to earn a percentage of your salary every quarter for performing not only on-site monitoring visit, but also remote visits are taken into account in this bonus plan. CRAs do also receive a company car or car allowance, and also iPhones to help them when they travel. What you will need to be successful at Parexel. First of all, we would expect you to have a previous monitoring study startup or site contract experience. You would need to have an outstanding organization and time management skills to navigate the clinical trial milestones. You would also need to have the ability to prioritize multiple tasks and have a commitment to consistent high quality work. As a CRA, you would need to own the problem and solution and take initiative and work independently. Of course, a sense of urgency is something that is crucial in this role, as well as communication skills. Specifically for CRAs, you would need to be able to travel, or you would need to be able to travel and across the country. On average, it's about 5 visits per month. In terms of education requirements, ideally we would like you to have a scientific degree. However, if you come with previous experience in the related area, then our hiring managers would also consider the application. With that, we've reached the end of our presentation, and we will be now opening the floor to a Q&A session. For those of you with questions, please record your questions in the chat box provided, and I will present them to the panelists for answers. So I can see we have some first questions here. As DCTs appear to become a more popular option, how do you predict the CRA role to evolve? And would on-site monitoring continue to be preferred approach?
Okay, so I can probably take that question, Beata. So thank you for the question. Very good question. As I mentioned, the clinical trial environment is really evolving and really changing, and we are seeing more and more focus now on those decentralized clinical trials, which basically means we're trying to bring the trial to the patient and more into the patient's home. However, I do feel at the moment that yes, we do have more flexibility in terms of our CRA's monitoring sites. So definitely we are looking, separately, even without the decentralized clinical trials, we still look at risk-based monitoring and data-driven monitoring. So that means that the CRAs still need to go to site because there's some activities that are more efficient and more effective to do on site, and also the CRA is in a better place to communicate face-to-face with sites, and this is still really, really important. So although we do have a better balance now, probably mainly because of COVID, we do have this mix of the remote visits versus on-site. I think even with decentralized clinical trials and even with increased technology, there still will be a need for CRAs to be on-site.
Thank you, Gronya.
So hopefully that answered the question.
There is another question. What was the biggest challenge the CRAs faced during the COVID pandemic?
So,
okay, Kane, would you like to take that? And I can add anything if you prefer. So yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Your feedback from the great amount of CRAs, but personally, from my point of view, the hardest thing for me was maintaining the balance of it. Well, trying to get on site really, because a lot of the sites shut down completely, whereas some were a bit more flexible in when you could accommodate. And of course, all CRAs were trying to scramble to get online, to get on site to conduct their monitoring visits. When this was becoming less and less feasible, then we had to introduce remote monitoring. Of course, this was never really introduced at site, so monitoring plans had to be updated to allow for remote monitoring to take place, or whether that be from Microsoft screen sharing of redacted documents, or using secure platforms in which to send and receive redacted source documents. It all added challenges that had to be thought of last minute on the spot, which was quite challenging. I'd say from my point of view, that was it. Otherwise, logistically getting to sites was difficult, given that transport was disrupted, etc. And sometimes you had to go further afield, London, Aberdeen, so on and so forth. This all provided smaller problems, but yeah, I'd say actually getting on site, because all CRAs were trying to get on site, and also when not available, the contingency plans that were thought of in order to try and prevent a backlog of SDV for issues down the line, let's say. And Granny, have you got anything to add?
Thank you, Kane. Yeah, no, definitely agree with that. And as a company, we actually provided the CRAs with a letter to travel, because when we were in that full lockdown, people were potentially getting stopped because we shouldn't have been traveling. So the CRAs were seen as key workers, and we had to make sure that they were provided with the PPE and provided letters so that that they were covered in case of any issue. And I think as well, we also experienced issues where patients couldn't get to the hospital, so CRAs would have to really think on their feet in terms of getting drug to patients, and we had to really think outside the box of things that certainly we would not normally do. And the same as Kane said in terms of the remote monitoring, we had to follow the MHRA guidance, but even the MHRA really provided some flexibility for us, and we really had to think outside the box. It did also increase, I guess, the time, the CRA time spent on doing tasks, because I imagine it's just very, very slow and very ineffective in some respects. And we also had to submit an awful lot of amendments because we had to do things differently, and we had to let the ethics committees know about that. But definitely, I think the CRAs also had to deal with a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety, because not only they had to get to a site and then the site was completely closed. They had to sit in a room on their own and they weren't allowed to see the nursing staff. They, you know, they had to clean the room before they got there, clean the room when they left. All these types of practical things, and also for people living with family members that may have also been unwell. I think for some CRAs this was difficult because they didn't want to bring any infection into their own homes. So I think the CRAs were having to deal with, you know, just a lot of those challenges, but also challenges with our poor site staff, who many of them were deployed to, you know, intensive care and A&E and things like that. So I think in those, you know, just trying to get the job done, I think it was very, very challenging. And even today, we're still recovering because we still have some data backlogs and we still see some sites, yeah, just struggle a little bit in terms of, you know, the resourcing and, you know, having enough time to do everything. So I think it's still, you know, a little bit ongoing. So still a big challenge for the CRA. So I think they've done an amazing job to work through this very, very, very difficult time and something that we were not prepared for, but everyone, you know, worked together as a team and helped everybody sort of through that, really.
Thank you. I can see we have another question. What advice do you have for switching from NHS study coordinator roles to a CRA role? Does this count towards experience?
Yes, absolutely. And Kane has obviously already worked as a study coordinator as a good example. And we have several members of our team that have come from within the NHS and, or, you know, working in that study coordinator type role, or even some other roles. So definitely, you know, this is certainly, you know, a pathway. What we would often suggest is that, you know, our clients do want a scientific background, so they still do look for a degree level qualification. And if you don't have that degree level qualification, it's looking at, you know, what you've also done in order to get to where you are in your current position. So it could be that you work in a very specific therapeutic area. You may have done some other therapeutic area training. So I would just make sure that that is really clear on your CV, that not that you know, you're a study coordinator, but what other training and what other qualification or, you know, therapeutic area specialisms do you have? Because this is something that the clients are very keen to see. So hopefully that helps.
And another question, what does a day in a CRA role look when they are not traveling or on site visits and are working remotely or in office?
Kane, I don't know if you would like to take that as a day in the life of your in-house office day and all the activities that you do, just briefly.
Yeah, exactly. So various things, but predominantly you would log on, check your emails, because sometimes some of the project teams have been working across well, the globe essentially. So you could wake up with some emails that you received that very morning, or you could have had some emails from the evening before. So of course you're looking over your emails. Firstly, check what needs to be addressed then and there, and then some of the other emails that can be looked at later on in the day. As I say, because communication is key, you need to be providing your study teams with the latest and the greatest news from the sites that have been obtained. So trying to prioritise what information needs to go to the study team and what information needs to go to the site in a quick manner. I'd say that is the first priority when I'm looking at my emails. Aside from emails, and of course there's following up action items from monitoring visits. For instance, you may have identified some missing documents that need to go into the ETMF, so you're looking at filing those. Some of the staff may not have accesses, so you're following up with the team to try and get them access to get the site team accesses to the various vendor platforms that we're using, closing out issues that have been raised during previous visits. Liaising, as we said, with study team, whether that's being meetings or informal catch-ups, because whilst we are here to work, the Parexel again has a strong emphasis on wellness, so there isn't the expectation that you cannot sort of liaise with your other CRAs and to see how they're doing, so there's that aspect. and also planning and scheduling subsequent on-site visits. Aside from that, I would say, aside from the management of the site, I'd cover that. So that's everything. Hopefully that gives a summary. Is anybody like to add anything else to that?
Yeah, I think you've covered most of it, Kane. I think it's all about managing the site. So a lot of, still following up on the issues and investigator payments, and also planning and preparing for the next visits as well. So, and of course, Kane's working, or most of the CRAs do work across different protocols. So it's really been able to prioritize, which ones, you need to really act on in that particular day. But that probably leads to the next question as well, I think, Beata, if you want to go to the next one.
Yeah. What is one of the most interesting projects you've worked on?
So I guess that probably is a question for Kane, because that's a bit more current than myself and Julie.
So I suppose I can't go into too great detail, unfortunately.
No, just sort of high level, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just good seeing the introduction now of technology coming into studies and monitoring visits. So one of the questions earlier was, are we transitioning away from on-site monitoring visits? So whilst I don't think we're anywhere near that kind of stage yet, we are seeing the introduction of new technology, particularly for diaries for the patients we're completing daily. And as a result of that, the intensity of on-site visits is being reduced. So whilst the CRA still needs to be going on site, the technology is allowing subjects not to attend on site all the time due to various reasons, which I think are obvious. But the technology is quite interesting in how they're coming about, how they can record, let's say, IP dosing, so on and so forth. I'm trying to be very broad here because I'm not sure exactly what I can say with the technology, but yeah, the advancement of technology that's being introduced to various studies. So it doesn't really matter too much with the therapeutic area. The technology can be utilised across the various studies, and that's interesting, seeing how it progresses.
Another question.
I think Beata, probably we may, because I think we're at time. So I think maybe, I know there are probably a couple of other questions, but obviously we can respond to those questions, I think, offline, if that's okay.
Because I can see we still have a good number of questions, but that's good to know there is an interest. Yeah, but we actually passed the time, so we will finish the webinar today, and thank you all for taking the time to be with us. We of course encourage you to get in touch with us and to apply to Parexel. You can either do it via link that we've sent to you in the email invitation, or you can contact us directly. And I'm trying to introduce my colleague Gosia. Yes, here she is. So you can contact Gosia directly on the email provided here on the slide. If any additional questions you would like to ask about the process, you can always get in touch with us again by replying to the emails that we've sent to you when inviting you to this event. Well, thank you very much again, and everyone enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.